with everything in life, I think there has to be some foundations that you set in place, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed with most people's profile is it reads very much like a resume, right?
Mm.
You look at it, and there's actually an area on LinkedIn called the experience section, and that's what should read like a resume. Your about summary, right? Yours, Erik, it should be about you,
Yeah.
right? Because you're the human behind the profile, and people need context into who the heck you are, a little bit of your story, your journey, right? And then start talking about the business stuff, because all that stuff happened prior to you being who you are today, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I coach people in my program is it's like, listen, you know, tell as much of your story as you want to tell. Like, don't just, I don't want to ever force anyone to overshare, but whatever you're comfortable with, like if there's some things that you've been through, you've got to share that stuff.
Hey guys, this episode is sponsored by Tranquil Turtle Massage. Tracy over there, the founder, she's a small town girl from Montana, loves God, loves her family, loves her friends, loves working out, fishing, and camping. She has a passion for helping those in need and enjoys being creative with woodworking, crocheting, healthy baking, pottery, and cooking. Look, she began her massage journey back in 2010 where she graduated from massage school up in Anchorage, Alaska. She specializes in her signature massages, the Hanu Infusion and the Hanu Ashiatsu, as well as the gua sha and manual lymphatic drainage. If you're looking for a massage specialist and someone who could get you feeling good, go see Tracy down at Tranquil Turtle Massage. And while you're there, check out CDA Microblading, offering Coeur d'Alene's best tattoo brows, plasma fibroblast, tightening, and PMU services right there in the heart of downtown Coeur d'Alene. Make sure you book your appointment at pnwmobilemassage.com. Jordan, you're the founder and CEO of Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting. You're a speaker, coach, host of Blaze Your Own Trail podcast, much more, man. Thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Anytime I can share my story and in the hopes to inspire other people, I'm all about that, man. So
I love
looking forward to it.
You know, we kind of chatted before we flipped on the recording there, but let's go back, man. Where'd you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
Yeah, so grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Portland, Oregon, and the part of town I grew up in was actually in North Portland, part of town called St. John's. It's known for a place called Cathedral Park, which is the bottom of the St. John's Bridge, which is this beautiful bridge that was developed in the 1800s. And grew up super poor. It wasn't exciting to grow up that way. Food stamps and free lunches and having siblings, and then also our mom we grew up with actually had one lung, so she dealt with a lot of adversity. And seeing a woman like that, in hindsight, as you get older, you look back and you remember those situations. There's a few foundational things that I think I took away from being a kid. And for one, that was, I learned about change, right? Early and often when you're kind of moving from one place to the next, and 14 moves from birth to 14. I mean, you learn that for you, change is easy, and I kind of picked that up as I grew up. And I was like, man, it's weird. I have a job that I travel all around the country and I'm okay with it, right?
Totally.
So you kind of put those things together. I was like, well, yeah, because I was used to it. Change was a normal thing, right? But then I think back to, pivotal moments when you're a kid. I played sports. I did soccer and baseball for 12 years. And I actually enjoyed fundraising more than I liked the sports.
Okay.
Because I enjoyed going out and talking to people. And I think I learned that hustle early on, being a kid that really didn't have money. It was like, all right, if I want candy, what am I going to go do and get it? So I would literally go knock on people's doors and ask for their cans, because in the state of Oregon, you get 5 cents deposit. So I'd literally go and collect cans, and make up some type of story and get these cans and go buy candy, right? You had to figure it out. So I think for me, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. My mom said that, when I was basically born and just hadn't stopped talking since, one of those type of people that's super extroverted. So, but developing those skills at an early age, and we can get into kind of some of those pivotal moments and stories here in a minute.
Yeah. I mean, while doing that, like, was there an entrepreneurial person involved in your life, or someone that spoke to you or talked to you about being an entrepreneur, or that was just some kind of instinct that you just had upon you?
Yeah, I didn't really meet my first, I guess, influencer in my life that was an entrepreneur until I was 12. And that was when I met my dad for the first time.
Wow.
So my dad's from the Philippines, and he was born in like northern Philippines in the rice paddies and in the fields and stuff like that. So had kind of a tough childhood, like started working in the rice fields at 7.
Wow.
And he grew up and joined the military, and then became a seaman and traveled the world painting ships, and then he jumped ship in the 80s and came to the US to for that American dream. And he's actually had a landscaping company ever since. Like, he worked for a company a couple of years and has had a business for over 40 years. But when I met him, that's when I was like, wow, like this is somebody that started from nothing, came from another country, and he's really built this business. So I learned a lot of like values, like how to work hard, making sure that you treat your customers right. I remember even as a kid, he wouldn't really do a whole lot of work. He more would manage his team, but he would be really, really good. Even though his English wasn't that great, he would always make sure he talked to the customers and would smile. And, I just remember him being so cordial, and was like, the value of that showed me why he didn't spend a dime on marketing. He still hasn't, and has clients, right? He still has just a business card that's black and white. He doesn't have a website, but that's what happens though when you treat people right. So I learned some of those, values and that part of entrepreneurship from him. For me, it was just kind of the hustle. My great grandmother would buy me, baseball cards on QVC or Home Shopping Network, and I would take them and go flip them at sports card shows when I was a kid. So did that. You can see the Ken Griffey behind me back there, but that's an iconic card from the 80s. So I think I had this sense of entrepreneurship as a kid. I just didn't know what I was going to turn that into.
I love that, man. My son's 8, and he's just getting into baseball cards, and I'm a big Nolan Ryan fan. So grew up I would flip cards and go get Nolan Ryan cards.
Yeah,
and
those
so
are good. Those were good cards back then too to have.
Yeah, I probably have, I don't know, 200 Nolan Ryan cards. That's all I have left. I got rid of all my other collection. But one time my son gets this pack of cards like in a cereal box or something like that, and he rips it open, and there's 5 cards in there, and one of them is a Nolan Ryan. I'm like, what the heck, dude? How did you get this? Right. So
Wow.
I happen to flip through my collection. I have one Ken Griffey Jr. card left in there, and I'm like, hey, dude, I'm going to trade this card for you. So I gave him a Griffey card, and I got the Nolan Ryan, and now we're all happy. But it was just a fun conversation of flipping cards. My son really, and he's pumped about Ken Griffey. He's got Ken Griffey plaque on his wall and stuff like that too. I was doing research. So one of the things that kind of piqued my interest was when you started creating content on LinkedIn. It was a few years back, but it like quickly grew to like 20,000 followers. And I know this is one of the strategies that you talk about in your 12-week program, but what is something that folks are not doing enough on LinkedIn that they should be doing?
Yeah, well, I think just with everything in life, I think there has to be some foundations that you set in place, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed with most people's profile is it reads very much like a resume, right? You look at it, and there's actually an area on LinkedIn called the experience section, and that's what should read like a resume. Your about summary, right? Yours, Erik, it should be about you.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're the human behind the profile, and people need context into who the heck you are, a little bit of your story, your journey, right? And then start talking about the business stuff, because all that stuff happened prior to you being who you are today. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I coach people in my program is it's like, listen, tell as much of your story as you want to tell. Like, I don't want to ever force anyone to overshare, but whatever you're comfortable with, like if there's some things that you've been through, you've got to share that stuff.
Yeah.
Because who are we speaking to, Erik? Humans.
Yeah, humans, right? Yeah,
we're speaking to humans,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
So we've got to show people that we're also a human. And so if you have read my profile, you see I kick it off with a bang. It's like, listen, growing up with a mom that had one lung taught me a lot about what real adversity was. I seen this woman suffer and go to the hospital and have to use oxygen, and then you find out she's allergic to birds that she was never allergic to, and that got her real sick. So all of these things that I saw her go through, it made all of my adversity experiences, being stung by 53 bees in 4th grade, that sucked.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But I saw what my mom went through, so I kind of took it like a champ. And when I was 12, I was, falsely arrested and beaten by police and had bruised ribs and wrists. And that was a terrible situation, but I got through it. And I also chose the path of empathy because I learned that from my mom. And I learned that from a great grandmother that I saw, get cancer and then experience dementia. So I got to kind of experience these tough situations at an early age. And I think they really helped prepare me, but they 100% shape the person that I am today.
Yeah. Oh man. I love Ed Milet, and one of the things that caught my attention when I first came across him was that thing that he says, and I think Tony Robbins says the same thing: is life happens for us, not to us.
Yeah.
And man, that is so true. And in my situation, your situation, man, everybody, just everything that we're going through, man, it's meant for a purpose. And and some things are worse than others that we have to go through, unfortunately. But man,
and it doesn't happen right away, right? We don't
right.
realize this stuff right away. For me, it was like the first time I was speaking at an event and I shared my mom's story. Like that was very kind of awakening for me. And it realized that, for one, I needed to share her story because it helped me realize I had one of my own. It helped me realize that, wow, like what if I shared these pivotal moments that I'd been through? Maybe someone could get inspired by that and say, maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
And so sharing hers helped me start to share mine. And man, it's a powerful thing when you get to that place where you're comfortable.
Yes.
Where you're comfortable of sharing in the hopes that someone will see that and say, wow, maybe I can look through a different lens,
Right. Oh man, it's so true. I'm 42 at the end of this week here, but I didn't share my story till I was 39 years old. I just held on to like my craziness of household that I grew up in, man. But I don't know why, but at 39 years old, I started to share it and decided that I wanted to try to make an impact with it. And man, that opened up so many doors. And I've started receiving messages from people going, man, oh my gosh, I went through something similar. And man, I love that. If we can get comfortable sharing our story, we can just make a huge impact.
And that's the first step, right? That is the tip too, folks. So if you're watching this or you're listening to this, that's the tip on LinkedIn. It's, really look at your profile and read your about summary and say, am I sharing me or am I sharing the corporate version of me, right? Or the pinned up version of me, right? Am I actually letting people in and giving them context into who I am? That's the first question I would ask yourself, right? And of course, you got to optimize your headline, right? We know that's got to be dialed in because we're trying to get love from the keywords and making sure that when people read it, they know what the heck we do, right? So that's important. A good picture is important. A good banner image is important that has maybe a call to action or a little bit of branding, things like that. Those are all also important. And then finally, if we're talking about, your profile, you've got to have a call to action, right, in your about summary, and then, point them somewhere. So what do you want them to do next? And that's one thing I see that's missed often. They actually have a whole section called featured section. And if used correctly, you could use a written call to action and point them there. Right. So for example, Erik, you're a marketing guy, right? If that's your lead magnet, if that's your one-stop shop, you want people to go, tell them to go there, put a place for them to go, and then they get there. Right. And you can see how that traffic's going to be converting. So those are just, those are some tips for, really getting started. And then from there, it goes into content strategy. What does that look like for you in your business or your show or your book launch or whatever it is? So,
right. One of the podcasts that I actually heard you on, another podcast, you talked about this thing. It was so good. I had to ask you about it, but you talked about how do you build your tribe? Like, how do you build your tribe, man?
Yeah, for me, it was showing up. That's the first step. You've got to show up. And what's funny is I was afraid to show up. I was afraid to post that first video content, where I was speaking. Like, I didn't think I was worthy. Who's going to listen to Jordan? Like, why would they freaking, play this 2-minute video and listen to me? So I had to actually get over myself.
Right.
I had to get over myself in order to start showing up. So, but showing up is the first step, right? Because your audience is going to tell you what they like, but they're not going to engage if you don't ask questions, right? So I made that a big point in content. I want to give value. That was my goal. I want to teach you something, little things that you could take away and it will make your day better. Like, I'm a very optimistic and positive person. I want to put positive things out to the world. So that was always my goal. So it's, how do I get somebody to learn, and what question can I ask? What kind of open-ended question, because that's going to elicit a response, can I ask that's going to get them to engage? Right. And then I made a big point on making sure that if anybody commented, you better believe I was going to reply.
Yes.
Why? Because that's called community management. That's how you
Totally.
manage and build that tribe. Because I'll tell you this, if you post and ghost, which is post and then disappear for a couple hours, if you come back and there's no one there, there's a good reason, because
Totally.
you literally didn't engage with the people that took the time out of their day. Because let's face it, folks, it takes time to do this, right? To drop that comment, to drop that like. So if you want people to engage, you've got to engage as well.
I'm so big on that, man. Every comment, every DM, I'm all about responding to that. Unless it's some spammer guy, right? But 9 out of 10 times I'm responding as quickly as I can. Obviously, I work a full-time job still on top of doing my podcast, but man, I'm jumping over real quick and responding. Thank you so much, man. Or hey, man, thank you. Hope you have a great day. Love that, dude. So important to engage with those folks that are taking time into their day to just, make a comment or DM you or anything like that, man. I want to talk about your new project, man. It's the Spark program, which this seems like an amazing offer, seems like an amazing program. First, for folks who don't know, what is Spark and what are folks getting out of this when they work with you on that?
Yeah, it's funny to hear it called Spark because when I created it last year, it was, a Word document with a bunch of stuff written on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So I love that the fact that it now has its own brand. It's a program. It looks good. It's polished, but I want everyone to know how it started, because I think that's important, that you have context. And so the way it started is before I actually jumped out, January 15th was my last day in corporate America of 2021.
Okay.
And so I launched the business then. I had to, if you could see behind me, it says blaze your own trail. That's an eagle that left the cage. It's a metaphor and a story. One of my coworkers said, he said, it's time. It's time. You're the eagle that needs to leave the cage and blaze your own trail. So it was pretty cool to get that from some old coworkers. But I'd been helping clients on the side, one-on-one calls. And I started to see this pattern, Erik, where everybody needed help with their calendar system. Like, people had it, they didn't know how to brand it right. They didn't know how to, pre-qualify people before the call, how to actually even monetize even a Calendly. They didn't know how to do any of that. And I kept getting people that needed help with that. So I would help them one-on-one. And then I'd get people that said, hey, I need help with this Linktree thing. I see you have a Linktree. How do I set this up? So I would help them get that set up. And then they would ask me about, creating offers. And, there was all these things. And I was like, you know what? People are asking me about this so much that this needs to be its own thing. I need to package this together. And so I created an offer. It was $1,000 and it included, 4 calls. It helped them set up their Linktree, their calendar system, did social media bio audits, really show them how they can monetize their brand in a more efficient way, but also look at the data and analytics from behind this. Right. And so I was doing it and I was like, man, this thing's flying off the shelf. Like 7 people did it at $1,000. And I was like, wow, I don't think this is priced right. I need to up the price here. So I upped the price and it kept converting at 2,000. And I said, you know what? I think this can be even better. How much time am I spending with each of these clients? It's 4 hours. What if I could remove myself from the equation? Not completely, but maybe where I'm spending maybe an hour and I've got a team member doing onboarding and I've got, bigger and better systems that we can help them build. And what if it could live on a CRM that could actually help them run their business more efficiently and had email marketing and course building stuff? I was like, what if, right? And when we start asking bigger questions, we start getting bigger answers if you start taking action. That's one thing that I've noticed in my journey. And so I started asking questions, and I actually connected with a buddy of mine that we hadn't talked in about 6 months. And we were literally, I kid you not, Erik, we were literally had this almost the same identical offer.
Okay.
Almost the same identical offer. The only difference was his was sitting on top of his CRM and mine was living on its own. And so I actually joined forces with him and said, listen, I would love to use your platform for my clients and, build this offer for you. So how do we join together, right? Collaboration over competition. How can we join forces to make this even better? And we both are benefiting, right? You're getting users for your platform. I'm getting, clients that actually have a better system to go through. Like it's a 5-step process now. And, so I partnered with a buddy of mine and we collaborated on building the program.
Come on.
And today, when I look at it now, and when I'm very proud of, how it looks, and I'm very proud of the people that are going through it, and that are, their brands are going to be changed because of it, because it's really designed to get those foundational components in order, so like this is really for people, Erik, like you've got a website, but it's not converting, you've got a landing page, maybe you've got a calendar system, but you just want them even more dialed in, but you want them sitting on something that you can measure all of the interactions and all the data that's coming through, right? If that's you, if you're more scattered and you just want to get things more organized and dialed in and more optimized, then it's the perfect program, and it really is. Like, I look at it like the first program I would want any client of mine to go through before they even took my coaching program. Like, it's that foundational to have,
Right.
because if you can have these foundations in order, and then you go start doing a bunch of content, now you're putting people through your funnel, and then you can start doing, split testing. You can start seeing what's working, right? And what's converting, what's not. And so I'm big on foundations first.
Man, so good, dude. Question for you. When you decided to leave corporate America, that's obviously scary for a lot of people, but what was that feeling like for you? Was it relief, or was it like, oh crap, now I've got to start taking some massive action?
Man, it's funny because I had started doing the side hustle thing in 2017.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and the first iteration of it wasn't teaching people how to do marketing. It wasn't teaching people how to convert sales. It was actually the leadership side of things. And the reason was that, in 2016, I got certified in Myers-Briggs, and I got certified because I was going to teach a leadership program. And I ended up teaching that program for 3 years. It rotated from Atlanta to DC, put 15 people through it a year, got to coach 15 people a year. And I was like, man, like, it's so impactful to teach people things, coach them, and then see the transformation. People were saying their lives were changed, their relationship with their spouse was better, all these things. And I was like, man, like, I don't want to just have this impact here. Like, I want to have it outside of these walls of corporate America. So I started doing consulting for MBTI on the side. And, the first client I got was actually my church. And I put 32 staff members through this, assessment. And it was so cool to be able to see these people that have known each other for years looking around like they didn't know each other,
Right.
because they're like, wow, like, and some of them having these epiphanies like, wow, you're not a knucklehead. It's just because you're wired this way. Like, maybe I need to have a little bit of grace, but being able to see those epiphanies, it really kind of sparks something in me. But like all good things, like, it died down after a little bit. I had this energy, this inertia, and then it kind of died down. And then I started listening to podcasts and then got active on LinkedIn, and that kind of re-sparked the professional development journey from there.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, in your podcast, it's an amazing podcast. People need to be listening to it. It's Blaze Your Own Trail podcast. You've had people like Heather Monahan, Steve Sims, Jeff Lopes. 2 of those 3 have been on my show. I'm trying to get Heather on the show next. But when did you start your podcast, and how much of an impact did having that podcast have on your business?
Oh man, it's funny because I actually had a podcast before Blaze Your Own Trail that had, I think, 2 episodes. No one's heard them but me, probably.
Okay.
And I loved it to share that because it was a failure, but it failed because I didn't have clarity. I didn't know why I was doing it. I didn't have my purpose, right? And didn't have any of that dialed in. And so when I launched Blaze Your Own Trail, I had done it and I'd started creating this content. I started building this audience. I think I just hit 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, like when I launched. And, that inspired me. It was like, you know what, I want to be able to share other people's stories with the world. I have this platform now.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with it? Am I going to do something positive, right? Or negative? And it was like, I want to see how I can actually give people the ability to sit in on a conversation that I'm having with someone and learn about everything they've got to get to where they are today.
Yeah.
that was it, so for me, it was also like, I wanted to learn too, and I feel like we're about to hit our second anniversary on January 1st, which is super exciting. We've released 80 episodes, about to launch season 4 here, almost at 100 episodes recorded. And it's been such a rewarding journey. And then you asked about the business, and yeah, it's definitely added value there. I've had guests that have turned into clients, and organically, just in conversation, right? It made sense. They needed what I had, and sometimes I've turned into their clients, and just the community of podcasting, as Erik, it's such a amazing and positive community. Everyone is on their own journey, whether you're on episode 1 or 101, we're all going through it. We're all dealing with it, and I know you're a family guy as well. Like, me and my wife have 5 kids, we're raising a family. And so you've got to budget time, you've got to partner, and figure out how to kind of manage the chaos. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I kind of thrive in the chaos, but I think a lot of that stemmed from the way that I grew up, and it's been a lot of fun, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh man, I love podcasting, man. And I'm the same way. Like, I'm fascinated with people's stories. And, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I was in a walk-in closet for almost my first 100 episodes, didn't look in the camera, didn't have lights or anything like that, man. And here we are, probably almost 360 episodes in combined between my 2 shows, man. And, it's just, you got to be consistent with podcasts, man, if you want to make it happen. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what are you most excited about for 2022, man?
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I don't know if this project is launching this in 21 or 22. So if it's 22, this is what I'm excited about. But I'm actually doing a book collaboration with a buddy of mine, Ruben Alvarez. I think you know Ruben. Yeah. So there's a book called Brand Sharks, and I'm one of the authors involved in it. So it's super exciting to be able to kind of get a bigger part of my story out there, and some tips and things like that out to the world, so being able to collaborate with some other great people that have great businesses and stories, and we're all out here to try to make the world a better place.
Yep. Oh, so good, dude. Yeah, Ruben's such a great guy. Last question. I'm a big music guy, so I'll ask the question, like, what's a favorite band for you, or do you have a favorite type of music you like to listen to?
Oh man, so I'm a big hip hop guy, but 90s hip hop, something I was real big into. When I was 14, I got my first sales job, and it was selling newspaper subscriptions door to door. And there were 2 really cool perks. One of them was they gave us free Burger King every night. Got the free milkshake, right? Got the Burger King in.
That's awesome.
And then we got paid cash every night. So we would literally have the distributor bring us over to Tower Records, and my money was gone, bro. Like, I would get the Outkast CDs, Selly Cell, Too Short, some of that mid 90s stuff. So
that was my biggest downfall when I moved to Seattle, Washington. Like, I lived across the street from Tower Records, so every time I'd get home,
man, that place was just impulse aisle, right? Everything was just impulsing you to buy it in there.
My weekly payday routine was go get a 6-pack of beer and then walk to Tower Records and grab like 5 CDs. Like, that's where all my money went every single week, man. So good, dude. Thank you so much, Jordan, for taking time of your day, man. It's truly an honor to have you on, man. You dropped so many awesome knowledge bombs on this episode. People are going to be connected with that, man. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure coming on, man. And I love everything that you're up to. I mean, folks, this guy has 2 shows, so let's give him kudos for that. I can barely keep one together. This guy's doing 2 shows. So keep up the great work, man.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I wanted to just take one quick second of your time to point you to erikallenmedia.com. I have a ton of free and paid content on our resources tab. Click on that. Tons of books, tons of websites you can go check out. Some secret websites in there as well for you. But listen, I am available for hire for anything from product videos to content videos, review videos. I do a lot of how-to and explainer type videos, box opening videos for brands. I also do laser engraving for anything that's wood product. So if you need some, coasters made or fun tags or something like that, shoot me a DM. Happy to help you out. You can check out some of my work on our YouTube channel there. Really appreciate you checking out the show today. Thank you so much for your time. Have an amazing day.